Most people think that high net worth individuals have it all figured out when it comes to their finances. And I'm here to tell you this is not true. I work with 7-figure income earners who are 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 million plus. They still have so many blind spots in their financial plan. So in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through 5 of the most common blind spots I see from high net worth individuals. And the first one is really just about cash flow planning. I don't really think that people that are high net worth individuals really need to budget. They just need to understand what they make, what they spend, what goes to taxes, and what's left over. As you can see right here, this is a visual that we'll give to every single client of ours. We have them link all of their accounts. We go and look through the last 3 months of their spending and figure out what they spend on average. Good financial planning is, I make this much, I spend this much, this is what's left over, this is where that money should then go. That's where it all starts. So this visual becomes really helpful because we lay it all out for them. We figure out, do they have a deficit? Do they have a surplus? If they have a surplus, where does that get invested? But if they have a deficit, how are we going to make that up? How is your portfolio designed in a way to make sure that you can live the way that you want? I sit down with tons of high net worth individuals on a yearly basis, and none of them can tell me what they spend. This is where good financial planning starts. Number 2 is lack of insurances and risk management. As you become wealthy, the biggest risk that you face is large outlays of cash. Here's the perfect example. Your kid's 17 years old, they're driving home, they're looking at their phone, they get in a car accident, they hit a doctor, that doctor can never work again. He's a surgeon, he broke his hands, and he sues you for $5 million because he's never gonna be able to work again. What do? The first thing that happens is it's gonna go to your auto insurance and say, what is your liability coverage? Is that maxed out? Some people only have $100,000 of coverage per person. This means it's gonna pay the $100,000, everything else is gonna come out of pocket. And this is where umbrella insurance comes into play. You could have $5 million of umbrella coverage. Once you max out that auto insurance, it's gonna sit on top of that, and that is gonna help pay out if something like this were to happen. Obviously, people think that this is far-fetched. I've seen this type of thing happen time and time again. So when you become a high net worth person, the way that you want to think about insurances is protect the large outlays of cash. That's it. You don't care about the $500 versus $2,500 deductible because that isn't going to hurt you. But what is going to hurt you is that example I had, or you have a birthday party at your house and a kid slips and falls and cracks their head open and that family sues you, right? The other things that you can start to think about is different trusts, right? Do you have the right trust structures? Do you have right structures around your businesses? Do you have LLC wrappers? You want to make sure that you and your family are protected because now that you're high net worth, you've made it. The only way to set yourself back is you take too much concentration risk in investments, which we're going to talk about next, or lawsuits or different things that come against you that take away that money. So number 3, like I just talked about, is concentration risk or how you handle your investments. Time and time again, I see people that have all of their money in one area. I get it. This is very different if you own your own business and you haven't had a liquidity event. That's naturally going to happen. But on the flip side, I see people they put all their money in a private equity fund. They put all their money in a few individual stocks, crypto, etc. And as you become really wealthy, that's way too much risk, right? Let's say you have a $10 million portfolio. You have more than enough money than you're ever going to need. If you have a $10 million portfolio and it's just in, say, one cryptocurrency and that drops 50%, you have $5 million. It doesn't mean it's ever going to go back to there. And you also now need 100% return just to get back to that original balance. The downside and how much that can hurt you is way bigger than the upside of that concentration risk. The other thing that goes hand in hand here is just liquidity. One thing that I find is a lot of high net worth people lack liquidity. They own a ton of real estate, private investments, a business that they own, and they don't even feel wealthy because they don't have any money in their name and available. You want to make sure that you balance illiquidity and liquidity. If you're going to give up liquidity, you have to expect higher returns. Otherwise, what's the point? You need the liquidity premium. Number 4 is just overpaying in taxes and not doing tax planning. I see high net worth people all the time trying to nickel and dime, save every dollar. They hire cheap professionals, and then they wonder why they overpay in taxes and they don't get the services that they need. You need to invest in the right tax planning team. Taxes are going to be your number 1 expense for any high net worth person. So you need to understand entity selection. Is your business set up the right way? Should be an S corp versus not? Are we planning around self-employment taxes? Are we doing QBID maximization? Should we be a C corp? Could we potentially get QSBS? Are we thinking about Roth versus traditional? Are we doing Roth conversions? Are we doing direct indexing? Are we tax loss harvesting on a yearly basis? These are the basics, right? There is still so much more to do. There's donor advised funds and other charitable things. There's estate tax planning. You need to do tax planning as a high net worth individual. It is going to save you millions, if not tens of millions of dollars over your lifetime. And the last one, number 5, is all about estate planning. Time and time again, people come in to work with me. They might have tens of millions in net worth. They don't even have a basic estate plan. If they were to pass away today, everything would go through probate. And on top of that, they haven't even designated where their kids would go, what they want the end of their life to look like. Estate planning 101 is the basics. What happens to me if I were to pass away? Where does everything go? What happens to my kids? Where do I want all my possessions to go? But for high net worth people, estate planning 201 and 301 really becomes estate tax planning. So what many people don't understand is that you have an estate exemption. Right now it's super high. It's over $27 million between a husband and wife or a married couple. As long as your wealth is underneath that, you don't pay any estate taxes unless you live in one of the states that do have estate tax. But this is set to sunset. So in 2026, the estate tax exemption is going to be cut in half. We're assuming it's going to be right around 14 million. So a lot of my clients, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, and they're above that net worth already. Let's fast forward. Let's say they pass away with 50 million. The estate exemption was 20 million at that time. They have 30 million that they're going to pay estate taxes on at 40%. That means they're going to owe $12 million of estate taxes. So they could have thought about this earlier in gifted money. Let's say they're today, we're at this 20 million net worth. They potentially could have moved 1, 2, 3, 5 million into different trusts. They could have slats for their spouse. They could even just have dynasty trusts or other irrevocable trusts for their kids. And let's say you're in your 30s and you move 5 million out, and that becomes 25 million by the time you pass away. That means you have an extra $20 million out of your estate without paying any taxes. Why? Because once it's moved out of your name, all of that growth is out of your estate. So all of that can happen and you won't pay estate taxes down the line. All high net worth people have blind spots. Just because you're a good earner and just because you're good at building wealth does not mean you're good at maintaining it. And at the end of the day, with the skills to grow versus what you do with that money after are very different. High net worth people should be investing in the right financial planning and tax planning team to make sure they're doing all of the right things on a yearly basis. You just have to get a few of these big things right and avoid getting a few of these things wrong, and you will end up in a very good spot. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and go follow my page for more personal finance content. And as always, if you have any thoughts, please leave it in the comments below, and I promise to get back to each individual comment. See you next week.